Hi everyone, I'm Jerry Ford and welcome to my studio. We're going to learn something new tonight. We're going to learn how to make these wonderful trivets for your holiday table. They're scented, or you could make them unscented. They're nice and sturdy, they last for years, but this one has been around for, I'd say, a good 15 years. And I just store it away after the holiday. You can wipe it and clean it. I wouldn't recommend washing it. Mostly because I have not sewn this together. Also, I don't want the rice absorbing any more water. We're also going to do some coasters to match. What are you going to need for this project? You're going to need some rice. For every, you only need about a pound of rice. This is a 2-pound bag. A jar to keep the rice in. Okay, you're going to need some scents. And so you can use essential oils, you can use vanilla extract, you can use lavender hulls, but I wouldn't do that for the trivet. The lavender, crushed lavender, you could use crushed up cloves. You can use, I like to use oils. This is anything that's got a strong scent. This is simply a spray. And this is pearberry. This is stuff you spray on your carpets. So that has a nice scent. My favorite to use is this cinnamon oil that I got from the drugstore. You just ask them behind the counter, ask for cinnamon oil. And I like this. This is my favorite to use. At the holidays for scented rice bag and coasters, I will use Christmas tree scent, which is an oil. It's one of those essential oils you can buy. And this is called Wisteria Rose. And this is for I like for rice bags. So each scent needs a different jar. But you can use anything that will scent it. Now you want to pick a fabric that will not bleed or stain your countertops. So you might want to wash the fabric first. If you're planning on putting this in the microwave, because this makes wonderful scented trivets and they last forever. I've made this, I believe, well over 15 years. Every once in a while, I will just wash it off, with some spray and I don't really immerse it in water, but every once in a while I'll also put it in the microwave. I really don't like putting things in the microwave. When you put a hot dish on top of it, then the heat from the dish will release the scent into the air and make the room smell really nice. If you're making the trivet like this, you're going to need to cut 2 strips, 2.5 inches wide by the width of the fabric. If you're making a coaster, you only need 1 strip, 1 3/4 inches. I like to use a glue gun to put it together. However, if you ever plan to put this in the microwave for more than a few seconds, more than say 15-20 seconds, I would not use the glue gun. I instead would hand sew it together. It helps to have a tube turner. This is going to help not only with the filling the tube, but it helps to turn it. And of course, if you're using the glue gun, you're going to need lots of glue sticks and a funnel to help fill the tube. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing is that we want to prepare the rice. So I'm going to put like about half of this into a jar. A glass jar. You don't want to use plastic. This plastic will absorb the scent. Okay, that's more than enough. And we're going to put about a pound in there. And then I'm going to use my favorite cinnamon oil. This does not have to be a canning jar. It can be any glass jar will be fine. And you're going to put about a teaspoon of it. I'll put it on the glass. That's about a teaspoon. Okay. All right, well, the lid on. And then I'm going to shake it and roll it around. Okay. You just shake it, roll it around, and you're going to do this every day for about 2 weeks. So every day, just come and turn it. What will happen is in 2 weeks, the rice will absorb the oil, and it doesn't take much, right? And then I will come back and we'll construct our trivets and coasters. Okay, it's been 2 weeks. So my rice is ready, it's well scented, and now I'm ready to start making the coaster. Again, you're going to just sew this in half, right sides together, and you want to use about 1/4 of an inch seam. Just realize that a 1/4 inch seam will fit on the tube turner. I want to sew one end closed. Okay, that's the end. Then I want to sew up about 1/4 of an inch. But when I get to the what I call the open end of it, I want to bring that down to where it's stitching almost nothing. And that's simply to fit around the funnel. And if you go into the selvage, that's fine because you're going to cut that off anyway. Okay, now for this one, I'm using a slightly smaller one, but it'll still fit. See, my funnel will fit here fine. Okay, so let's go to the machine and let's sew those together. Okay, so now I'm ready to, we're gonna do the trivet first. And for the trivet, you're gonna need 2.5 inch strips sewn or cut selvage to selvage. For the coaster, you only need it 1 3/4 inches wide, and you only need 1 strip per coaster. Okay, so I'm going to seam these two together, right sides together. I'm not going to trim it just yet, but I want to just go straight across. Okay, and I'm going to just do a regular stitch length and back tack. And then I'm going to cut it about 1/4 of an inch. But I also want to sew these down, because what happens is when you're filling it, if you end up filling it this way, what's going to happen is that the rice is going to get stuck there. So I actually like to open the seam and sew it real close to the edge on each side. And now the rice won't get stuck. Okay, and then I'm going to seam this about 1/4 of an inch and just do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Okay, on one end, I want to pivot only on one end. I'm going to pivot and sew the end shut. Okay, and then trim the end. Okay, now this is ready to turn. Now for the coaster. The coaster is much smaller, so on one end, or I'm going to sew this probably at 1/4 of an inch. All the way down. Well, most of the way down. Now, when you get within maybe an inch or two of this open end, the last end, I'm going to come off to where I'm virtually off the fabric. I want to create a wide an opening as I possibly can. Okay, and I'm going to back tack that. That's going to get a lot of stretching. Okay, on this other end, the short end, I'm going to sew it across. And trim the end where I've sewn shut. Okay. And next we're going to turn these. Let's do the smaller coaster first, at least to turn it. So now that it's sewn, I want to turn it. I love these tube turners. If you don't, you can turn this any method that you can. I made my seams a little bit too big. I'm having a little difficulty getting this through. We'll get there. little bit of elbow grease. They have these things. You can pull it through. Oh, this works its way through. If you can see that this works through. Oops, to open it up a little bit. And carefully pull it down. Don't go too fast. You just want to be able to get it out. Okay. Till I see this end. It's popping out. Okay, so now I can take the wire off. And I'm going to pull, so I'm just going to pull this all the way through. Okay, and done. Now, that part that's open a little more, I'm going to put the small end of the funnel through it. There we go. Now it's stuffed on there. Okay, so now we're ready to fill it. So you're going to fill and coil as you go along. So I'm going to heat up my glue gun. While I'm filling. There, and let that start to heat up. Okay, and I'm going to open up my jar of rice and start filling it. You'll notice it doesn't want to go, so you have to sort of shake it and get it everywhere. Okay, this is the hardest part on the smaller one. The smaller one is actually harder to make because you have to work a little harder to get the rice in. And you want to get rice all the way to the bottom. So you're going to keep doing this. I got too much rice. And I'm trying to shake, get in there. Helps to take it up and down and shake it, and then shake the tube till it falls all the way to the bottom. This is going to take a while. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera. Okay, so now I filled it. You don't want it really tight, so I'm going to take that off. And what I'm going to, you want to stop when you're at least about a foot away. I probably have, and you want it to be loosely filled, not really tight. You want it all the way to the bottom. Sometimes you have to sit and shake that rice to the bottom. So once you have it, fold it in half and seal this with a Wonder clip. And the reason you do that is because as you're working, you don't want the rice to come out all over the floor. I have done that. Okay, so now I've got too much rice at the end, so I'm just going to massage some of it out. I virtually don't want any rice in about the half an inch. Then you're going to start coiling this. Okay, so you would take way too much glue, a little bit of glue because you don't want to burn yourself, and seal it and start coiling it. What I usually do is I try to coil it and see I have it too thick. So I'm going to put that, this is why you need this end clip, because you're going to work this back down. Okay, sometimes it helps to get rid of the rice that way. Okay, and then you're going to keep coiling it. So you try to coil it, and so I'll coil it about a half an inch, then I come back and put a little bit of glue, very little. Okay, and then still too much rice. Let gravity sort of shake it down, let gravity do its thing. And then coil. Okay, now I don't think I need to do any more shaking. See, it's letting me get about a half an inch, so I'm going to just do a little glue. Okay. If it doesn't want to go, you've got too much rice. So take some of that rice out, shake it out. Okay, we got another little bit. Okay. And nope, still too thick. I always overestimate how much rice I need. At least with the coaster, the trivet, well, the same thing. When you're in the center, it's harder to coil. And I'm just doing a tiny little bit at a time. Take your time. How big this is going to be depends on how big you want it to be. So yes, it's still too much rice up at this end. There we go. Okay, now that off. Okay. Okay, and usually I can go a little faster now. And I'll put okay. So now will this go around rather easily? Okay. I will put, it helps if you put your glue on the round part, put it on the table, and then let it adhere. That way it stays flat. Same thing here. I always test it. Well, do I have too much rice? Not enough rice? Yes, a little bit too much. Okay. And actually, it's best to use a high heat glue rather than the low temperature glue. Okay, so far. Okay, we need a little more rice here, so I'm going to come back down this way, give it some more rice. There. That's good. I might need just a little bit more rice. That's going to be a good size coaster. So, and just maybe just a tiny bit more. Then I'm going to, that part that's wider, because we remember we made this wider, I don't really want that like that. And I'm going to cut. That's where I made it almost next to nothing. So I'm going to tuck in. I'm just going to take like a seam ripper. I'm just going to use this to encase the end. Like that. Okay. And put the clip right back in the corner. Okay. The reason I didn't sew this, because I don't know what angle to sew it at. Yeah, actually that was a pretty good guess. But I'm going to finish this up until like the last ½ inch. I have the last little bit here. Now, if you feel brave, you just simply squirt the glue inside, seal it shut. Okay, you want to pinch it at least about a ½ inch on the end, and then you're going to glue right to the end. And this time at the very end, I'm going to put the glue on the coil rather than the inside. Okay. and let that go flush. And your coaster is finished. Okay, easy peasy. Now you've got this cute little coaster. If you're worried about this coming loose, by all means, you can take a needle and thread and hand stitch this end down. That way you're sure it won't pop open and erase, get all over your carpet. So, okay, now for the other one. Okay, so now we're ready to do the trivet, and it's the same thing. We'll do the same thing for the trivet. This one is going to be a lot more to put through. So you really want to squash that down. Okay, so I've got all the way to the end. I've got my little turner, and it's like a little big screw, and then just pull that through. This one's a lot easier. There we go. Release it by just turning it the other way. Then you pull it all the way through. There. Right. Put my, but this should fit much easier. And it does. And then just like before, shake it through. Okay, and I'm going to fill it just like I did before, and I will be back when I've filled it. It was much easier to fill, so I'm going to clip the end closed. I also clipped this part, the very bottom of it closed. You know what, I didn't poke out the corners. That's okay, I don't have to. Okay, and I'm going to start it the very same way, where I'm going to take this and put a little glue and start coiling it. Much. There we go. And just keep the same thing. Ow, high heat is hot, so be careful. Okay, and then over here now, I can start putting some of this rice back into it. And can I coil it? What I also did is I left a little gap right here of rice where there's none, so that I can have a place to back it up if I need it. And so I need a little bit of rice, not much, just enough. Like I said, at the beginning, you're only going to coil about a ½ inch. And if that works, then you're going to uncoil it, put the glue, and continue at the beginning. There we go. Okay, now I need to start using some more rice. Okay. Okay, about like that. Open it up. Okay, that was full. All right, now we're okay. So now I don't have enough here, so I can release that clip and start putting this rice through. Remember, it's still, and I'm going to, like that's far enough. Okay. So now that's too much rice, so I'll ease that out a little bit. Okay. Need some rice, just let gravity do its job. Now you've got another section. And here we go. You just keep going around, adjust the amount of rice. So always test it, then glue, adjust the rice. Once you have it right, then glue it. Now on to my third glue stick. So it does take quite a bit of glue. Okay, now I'm ready to deal with the end. The end is facing in the wrong direction, which is why I'm glad I only clipped it. And I'm just going to fold this in. Use the end of the spoon to, there we go. Use my seam ripper to tuck this in nice and smooth. Okay, and it needs to go the other way. Okay. I didn't even cut off the selvages, it's fine. Okay. Pinch that closed. There we go. I'm going to fill this middle because I don't really want to sew it by hand. I really don't. Yeah. Although I think it would look better if I were able to sew this by hand. But I'm not going to. I'm going to be lazy. I might sew it right up to the end or glue it right up to the end and then hand sew this edge into place. There. Yeah, I think I will sew that just so that that end looks a little neater, which I'm just going to take some blue thread and just whip stitch this to it. And I think that will look there. Our coil is done. Turned out really nice. It's perfect to put a pot or a pan on it. Now, you could make longer ones. The longer ones are going to be harder to turn because if you want it wider than this, you would add a third coil to it, or a third set to it, and that would be a little harder to turn, but it could be done. You could also make these rectangular sort of or oval. Instead of the tighter you turn the center, the more round it is, but I could actually just coil this a little bit and have it oval shaped, and that would be look nice too. So this is a really cute gift. They're quick and easy to make, and I think I've worked on this maybe 2 hours, and that's including stopping to film and stopping to arrange things. So now this is ready to use. It'll look really nice on the table. Every time you put a hot pot on it, it's going to smell like heaven. If you like this, let me know in the comments section or send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I'll see you guys next week.